It has already been said that the situation in the Asia-Pacific region is not simple and there are plenty of problems. I would only add that we would like to understand the position of Japan, our neighbor, which was mentioned during the reports, under the pretext of the events in Ukraine. And without examining the causes of the conflict, Japan imposed sanctions on Russia that were entirely unprovoked on our part.
The escalation of tensions in the fleet's area of operations is also confirmed by the increasingly aggressive actions of Japan's military and political leadership. For instance, on July 4th, the White Paper on Japan's defense was published, setting out the military and political leadership's course towards open militarization. Russia is identified as one of the threats to Japan.
I would like to thank the commander for his detailed reports. Exercises such as the one we are discussing now are necessary both to maintain the fleet's combat readiness and to protect the interests of our country and its security in the Asia-Pacific region as a whole. They are also needed to strengthen Russia's overall military capabilities in this region. All this must, of course, be done taking into account the experience of the special military operation. The commander and I discussed this while traveling to the ship. You mentioned the combat operations of the Pacific Fleet's Marines. This was the 150th Brigade, now the 50th Marine Division. I would like to stress that there are no combat missions that our Marines cannot accomplish, including those connected with these ocean-related challenges. The men act boldly, professionally, and heroically. The fleet as a whole is also fully accomplishing the tasks assigned to it within its area of responsibility. These tasks are becoming increasingly important, particularly given the evolving situation in the region, which we have just discussed. Unfortunately, we can see the potential for a conflict growing here. NATO is making inroads into the region, new military political blocs are being formed, and new weapon systems are being deployed or planned for deployment here, creating threats to our country as well. Tensions are also being heightened in the neighboring Arctic region, which has already been mentioned, including over the use of the Northern Sea Route. Russia has always, and I mean always, supported cooperation and continues to reaffirm its readiness to work together to make use of the advantages offered by the Northern Sea Route, naturally within the framework of existing international maritime law. Countries that want to work with us are showing interest in this. These are primarily our friends, China, India, and other countries. They are discussing these issues with us, and we will certainly welcome joint work both with our friends and with all countries wishing to take part in this important and highly promising endeavor to expand global logistics. It has already been said that the situation in the Asia-Pacific region is not simple and there are plenty of problems. I would only add that we would like to understand the position of Japan, our neighbor, which was mentioned during the reports, under the pretext of the events in Ukraine. And without examining the causes of the conflict, Japan imposed sanctions on Russia that were entirely unprovoked on our part. Moreover, for the first time in its modern military doctrine documents, Japan has listed Russia among the main sources of threats. I would like to emphasize that we do not threaten Japan. We have absolutely no claims against it. On the contrary, it is Japan that has territorial claims against our country, referring to the issue of the Kuril Islands. However, the current situation is enshrined in international documents as one of the realities resulting from the Second World War. Even so, Russia was prepared to seek a solution. We sought to conclude a peace treaty with Japan. Let me remind you that back in the mid-1950s, the Soviet Union signed a declaration with Japan that opened the way towards a peace treaty. Japan signed it as well, but subsequently moved away from it. Later, the new Russia responded to a request from the Japanese government and resumed, I repeat, at the request of the Japanese side, dialogue on ways to reach a peace treaty. From the outset, it was stated that this work would also be based on the declaration I have just mentioned. I should confirm that at that time we developed constructive relations with a number of Japanese leaders, including former Prime Minister Shinzo Abe, who was tragically killed and who did a great deal to bring Japan and Russia closer together and narrow the differences between our positions. Unfortunately, we are now seeing a change in that approach. Let me stress, it was in no way provoked by us. Therefore, the commander's proposals on developing the Pacific Fleet and improving its capabilities and potential will be supported. All issues related to implementing these proposals will be carefully assessed, and the relevant instructions will be issued to both the Defense Ministry and the Russian government. Those responsible and the sources of funding must be identified. At the same time, I want to emphasize that Russia is ready to cooperate with all its neighbors, including Japan and other countries. I know that the Pacific Fleet regularly holds joint exercises, and I ask that operational exercises continue.
The forces and units of the Pacific Fleet are on constant combat alert, carrying out their designated tasks, and are capable of ensuring the security of the Russian Federation in the Asia-Pacific region. The military-political situation in the region is tense and shows a steady trend towards escalation. The main factors driving the rise in military and political tensions are the destructive activities of Western countries aimed at reshaping the security architecture in the Asia-Pacific region, their buildup of an advanced military presence, and the creation of new military and political alliances under Western control. These include the AUKUS and Triple Alliance blocs. New alliances similar to these are currently being formed, namely JAFUS, Quad and AUKUS. In effect, these are military-political alliances. They are essentially elements of NATO, merely under a different guise. They conduct joint operational combat training exercises, the number and scale of which are constantly increasing. There is a clear trend towards the involvement of NATO's military and political resources in regional politics within the Asia-Pacific region. The escalation of tensions in the fleet's area of operations is also confirmed by the increasingly aggressive actions of Japan's military and political leadership. For instance, on July 4th, the White Paper on Japan's defense was published, setting out the military and political leadership's course towards open militarization. Russia is identified as one of the threats to Japan. It is also stated that military spending is to be increased to 2%. Furthermore, the Japanese Defense Minister, Shinjiro Koizumi, has openly declared that it would be appropriate to abolish the 3 non-nuclear principles, which is something that cannot be allowed in our region. Hearings are also being held on the revision of Article 9 of the Japanese Constitution and the establishment of the Japan Self-Defense Forces. A major concern is the threat of the West blocking Russia's maritime trade with the aim of inflicting maximum economic damage on the country. I am aware that, as part of the 21st package of anti-Russian sanctions, the European Union has lifted the previously imposed ban on the sale of Russian hydrocarbons within EU countries. This grants EU member states the right, at national level, to adopt legislative decisions regarding the sale of hydrocarbons from detained vessels of the so-called Russian shadow fleet. In doing so, the European Union is seeking to provide a legal justification for its actions, which contravene international norms. In accordance with your instructions, Comrade Supreme Commander-in-Chief, we have carried out a detailed analysis of maritime traffic in the Asia-Pacific region. We know the routes, what is being carried, and whose ships they are. In the exclusive economic zone of the Russian Federation alone, along the islands of the South Kuril Ridge, 1,001 vessels passed through between April 24 and August 6, 2026. Of these, 379 were flying the flags of unfriendly states, including 273 dry cargo ships and 71 tankers, amongst which were 26 British vessels and 9 French vessels. At the same time, Western states are actively using vessels flying the flags of third countries to transport cargo in their own interests. In essence, this constitutes their shadow fleet. We have the capabilities to inspect and detain vessels belonging to unfriendly states and their shadow fleet. Interagency cooperation is well organized. We are ready to begin tackling these tasks. The report is complete.
Upgrade your news experience with the all-new HT app. Download now.